What's up guys, Brian here for Gaming, and for our today's episode of Can It Game, we will test the new Vivo Y100 and let us all determine if it can keep the pace with the modern mobile gaming devices, which excels at delivering gaming experience as they should. Without further ado, let's begin. First that we need to take into consideration is its core components. The Vivo Y100 is geared with the 6nm Snapdragon 685 chipset paired with the 8GB of RAM and a 256GB of storage capacity. The benchmarks of this phone shows that the Vivo Y100 scored a decent 367,000 on the Antutu benchmark. It also scored a single core score of 473 and a multi-core score of 1,536 on the Geekbench 6. But do we stop on those scores? Of course not. This is a gaming review, so we will test the phones in games. We will see this through a series of tests on popular games, starting up with Mobile Legends, Call of Duty Mobile, LoL Wild Rift, Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and one of the newest games, the Nightcrawls. This is to provide you with a perspective on the phone's gaming performance. So as usual, whenever we test games, we just look at how smoothly they ran for half an hour through their frame rate and keep an eye on how hot the device gets. That helps us figure out on how well it handles the heat. We'll start our testing again with Mobile Legends. It's a game that works smoothly on lots of different devices, and you don't need a super powerful graphics card to play it, especially for a mobile game. The Vivo Y100 nails it by maintaining an average rate of 68 frames per second and the temperature doesn't exceed 60 degrees Celsius. All of that while at max graphics settings. The next game that we will test is Call of Duty Mobile, a first-person shooting game. This game demands precision since you have to aim at your opponents in real time. The Vivo Y100 excels in this game and you can fully enjoy the thrill of a first-person shooting game. Even though it only got a decent average rate of 60 frames per second, my gaming experience was still smooth. And it didn't stress up the phone that much since it only got a 58 degrees Celsius average. We started this game at medium settings, but it can also handle high graphic settings while still having that smooth gameplay. Next up is LoL Wild Rift, another mobile game. This game takes up a bunch of space and needs a decent graphics capacity. It's going to push a device with its awesome graphics and fast-paced action. But again, the Vivo Y100 was not yet challenged by this game. It runs very smoothly with an average rate of 60 frames per second and just 54 degrees Celsius in temperature. If you are an avid LoL Wild Rift fan, I recommend this phone to you. We tested in medium settings and at the highest settings graphically, and it pretty much handled both smoothly. Now let's talk about one of the toughest mobile games out there, the Genshin Impact. This game needs a powerful graphics system. It's got breathtaking visuals, but it's a serious test for any device's performance. The Genshin Impact, which is a resource-demanding game, runs decently on this phone at medium settings, averaging about 20 frames per second. We also tested it out at higher graphic settings, and we experienced a lot of delays and lags. The temperature though is not a problem. If you think you can sacrifice a little bit of graphics and settle for medium settings, this phone will be good for you. Next is the Honkai Star Rail. Based on our previous gaming test, this one gave the phones the hardest time. It is a graphically demanding game that some phones cannot handle even the loading phase. This game isn't like your average game. Its graphics and effects are intense to the point that the Vivo Y100 mostly lags when we play it for a short time. It also gave this device a hard time loading up the resources that we had to try 3 times to enter the game. But when we switched the graphics to medium settings, you could still play the game at a bearable average rate of 15 frames per second and 60 degrees Celsius in temperature. Lastly is the Nightcrawls, a new generation MMORPG game that caught many players' attention. Its graphics and gameplay mechanics are so nice that we think many players would download it on their device. The Vivo Y100 did okay when we use it on auto-click with the monsters in the leveling phase of the game, averaging 15 frames per second and 55 degrees Celsius in heat temperature. We think that this phone can still handle games like this but not as smoothly as the other flagship phones on the market. So let's go back to the question. Can the Vivo Y100 game? The verdict is yes. It can game and can be a good choice if you want a cheaper mobile gaming device. But take note, you can still play those graphically demanding games but in lower graphic settings. And that's it. What phone would you like us to do a gaming review next? Comment your suggestion down below, and if you find this video very helpful, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to our channel for more content, and hit that bell icon so don't miss any future uploads. This is Brian, and see you again on the next one.